Everybody's having a blast with Arc 3.0, which admittedly is pretty fucking cool, but I'm still sitting here playing with my Voidwalker. You guys remember Nezarec's Sin, right? Everybody remembers Nezarec's Sin. It's the only other sentient exotic in this game, excluding Darcy. I mean, not literally, but holy Christ, does it feel like it. There are so many good things to say about Nezarec's Sin, especially now, with Void 3.0 being the oldest of the reworked light subclasses. We've had plenty of time to adjust to it and really figure out what makes it tick. We've got invisibility, overshield, devour, and volatile. 4 key mechanics that make up the identity of Void as an element in its entirety. We've got all these different variables, but the biggest one is devour, and it's been tweaked ever so slightly. Feed the Void. Defeat a target with a Void ability to activate Devour. Final blows restore health and extend the effect. That effect being the vampirism of both health and grenade energy on kills. It is extremely powerful when paired with abyssal extractors, which I will discuss in just a bit. And then we've got Child of the Old Gods. Cast your Rift to create a Void Soul. It'll dig deeper than an Alabama tick into the next monster that you shoot at, weakening them and dealing damage while also restoring bits of grenade and melee energy if you're using a Healing Rift, whereas it'll only restore health if you're using an Empowering Rift. Whenever that monster dies, X amount of Rift energy is refunded back to you. Now we're going to talk about fragments. The 4 that I'm using are Expulsion, Exchange, Persistence, and Instability. You can see the cards on screen and how they function. Expulsion causes targets to explode on Void ability final blows, and it adds a +10 to intellect. Exchange generates grenade energy on melee kills, and Persistence increases the duration of Devour, Invisibility, and Overshield. And lastly, we got Instability. Instability triggers volatile rounds after a grenade kill. So just in case you weren't 100% certain, there's going to be a big emphasis on explosions. Pretty sure I already made it clear that Nezarec's Sin is the focus of this build, but I've yet to talk about what it does. Void kills, either weapons or abilities, grant Abyssal Extractors for 2.5 seconds. While Abyssal Extractors is active, the player gets an additional 300% base grenade and melee regen, and 200% base class and super regen. You can imagine why things like Font of Wisdom and Energy Converter are so valuable when paired with Nezarec. Especially when you're playing with lower intellect tiers, they're meant to offset bad stat values on low stat armor, and they can help a strong stat roll maximize on their intellect. I realize now that I've yet to talk about weapons. It's time to fix that. Graviton Lance is the OG purple piss-off rifle that I think is still extremely underutilized. Cosmology and volatile rounds make for an extremely dangerous combination. The selling point is the destruction cosmology causes by itself. Volatile rounds only makes that more potent. At that point, you have 2 explosions going off at the same time. The initial detonation of the target you killed as their body creates miniature tracking axion bolts, and then the volatile blast that spreads the ailment from monster to monster, who then also die because they were volatile and they got hit by a mini axion bolt, and it just turns into a circle. An explosion causes another explosion, causes another explosion, so on and so forth, and all of that feeds back into your abilities. And the thing about Nezarec's Sin is that it doesn't give a fuck about how that Void kill happened. As long as that kill was yours, that is gonna proc Abyssal Extractors. 2 seconds per kill, up to a maximum of 20. As a result, this is absurdly powerful in groups. Obviously, as per the scenario, you have to play around champion and elemental restrictions, so primaries and heavies are always kind of subject to change. Personally, I like to have a lot of range, so one of my go-to primaries is always a Praetor's Revenge. Typically, my heavies kind of fluctuate between rockets and linear fusions. That really kind of depends on the activity. For example, using a rocket against the barrier champion in the boss room in the quarry is a bad idea. You motherfucker! This is a well build. Everything revolves around generating and consuming elemental wells. There are 2 spawning mods, those being elemental armaments and elemental ordnance, and 2 consumption mods, which are Font of Wisdom and Font of Might. Spawning these wells allows for different functions. Font of Might boosts all void weapon damage for a short duration, which is an extremely helpful buff for volatile rounds in cosmology. And then there's Font of Wisdom, which maximizes your intellect for 30 seconds. Collecting a single well grants both of those effects, and realistically, for what we're doing here, that is far more valuable than any charged with light combo. The Voidwalker is capable of generating all of this energy on its own. All of that already exists in the aspects and the fragments, so what it needs is some refinement. Child of the Old Gods leeches grenade and melee energy. Devour restores health and grenade energy. Abyssal Extractors restores energy to all abilities, and all of those allow you to continually throw grenades when necessary. A grenade kill activates volatile rounds, which makes Cosmology exponentially more powerful, and both those grenades and the Void Weapon kills consistently generate wells, which not only restore energy, but provide extremely valuable stat and damage buffs. And that is the entire ability circle. In a nutshell, it's just a loop. One thing leads to another, that leads to another, so on and so forth. And I know it doesn't really sound like that much on paper, but it is fucking smooth. Anyway, don't forget you can submit your own loadouts to be showcased on Build Talks. All you gotta do is just join my Discord, react to the rules, and then you're free to post your own build in its designated build chat. And if you want to support my work outside of Destiny, my Patreon is in the description. Other than that, I don't really know how to end this, so I'm just gonna abruptly stop.